Hey, welcome back to the Power Rankings. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Kelly.
and your reigning OKC Chirp Award winner is here to chirp. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, I'll keep you in good spirits, I guess.
Let's go. Do we have a sponsor this week?
Yeah, this week's episode is brought to you by Midol, the only performance enhancing drug you'll ever need.
Fellas, I need you to listen to me. The ladies of OKC Ultimate have been hiding this from you. Midol is the greatest drug on the planet. I have never felt better playing Frisbee than I have after trying Midol. Take it, thank me later. It is amazing. That's a good sponsor.
Okay, so this week, if you haven't looked at the standings in the Google Doc that's pinned, or if you haven't watched the footage, go do that. Eric's putting in work. The captains are putting in work. It's cool.
Yeah, if you care about the objective results and not just me making stuff up.
Oh, that's true. Or just listen to us. We'll tell you what you really need to know. Speaking of what you really need to know, we're gonna abandon the wall eat count. It's too many like crashes into the wall for us to actually count, and we're gonna stop encouraging you to run into the wall.
But if you're gonna do it, look cool. Shout out
Jacob
Jacob.
did.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it. This was not an easy week. So we have three different teams tied at the top at 4-2, and I think they all have an argument for first place. Yellow just went 2-0. White still is torching the league in point diff. Red over the last 2 weeks is 3-1. The only team in the last 3 weeks to be able to say that of the top three. The other two are both 0-2. I thought about this a lot, and I have yellow at the top spot with a caveat. I think that white will end up being the most consistent team of the regular season and will probably end up first in record, right? Yellow is going to have games where they just do silly stuff and throw it away. They still have Jerry. They still have Casey. I keep waiting for the Curtis 3 turfs in 1 point game that we talked about. That hasn't happened yet. I was on an elite team with Curtis last year. Where was this man? You've been playing out of your minds.
Yeah, so you said that you expect them to end on top. Do you mean going into the finals?
Sorry, yes. I think that White will probably, at the end of the regular season, going into playoffs, have the best record.
Okay.
However, what these rankings really are is who I think, when it's time to go, like right now, who I think is going to win the playoffs. And I think that is going to be Yellow. Their defense, when they lock in, is just absolutely stifling. Particularly, we don't talk about Jerry's as being a phenomenal defensive player.
Yeah.
He is. He covers so much ground.
Sure.
And his bids, he had twice, one on me and then one on Steven, where he was not remotely involved in the play, just came flying through to generate a turn. He may or may not have touched mine, but he was scary.
Scary Jerry.
Just really locks down on defense.
Okay. But it's not just Jerry, right?
Oh, yeah, no. Matt Cray has, without hyperbole or exaggeration, the best mark in OKC Ultimate. It is just impossible when he has you pinned on the sideline, it is so impossible to get a disc off there. His spacing and hand placement and speed is just really, really tough.
Man. Okay. Did anyone else perform defensively incredibly that you remember?
Defensively, yeah. So I mentioned Joel last week as taking away the entire four side lane, and I got to watch him a little bit more, particularly because we played him. His positioning and knowledge of where to be on defense is just so good. He is able to put himself in position to take away everything that he is supposed to take away. He's so good. He's also athletic enough to make all the other plays that he needs to at least be able to contest. He is great. And it's not defensive. Riley is playing the best ultimate legitimately in his entire life by a large margin. He had a sky in our game against Logan that I was not expecting him to get to at all. Just insane ups. He also immediately turfed it. The conservation of greatness does exist.
Yeah, I do remember that roof, and I was not even remotely expecting it to be their disc. So, yeah. Nice work, Riley.
And on the subject of conservation of greatness, I shouted Jerry out earlier. He also had 2 turns, in consecutive points from his own goal line.
Perfect.
As well as a couple of somewhat questionable hammers.
Okay, so you mentioned the toggle between yellow and white. So white is in second place. Tell us more about why.
Yeah, they went 0-2, right? It's hard for me to have a team lose both their games and still say they're the best team here. They are incredibly explosive. every time there's a turn or a score from the other team, they immediately have somebody going. And when I say somebody, that is literally anybody. If you look down here, Jimmy loves going deep. Caleb loves going deep. Ben loves going deep. Jillian loves going deep. Eric loves abandoning or like torching lazy defensive players. Kyle loves doing this. Normal does this. Their whole team just loves. Anybody whose name I didn't mention probably at some point sprinted deep after a turn.
Wow. Okay.
This week, they didn't hit all those passes. They missed some, not just the deep throws, some of the like 60 to 70%, like not 100% passes, but like you expect to make these consistently to be able to win games. They just missed more than I'm used to seeing. I don't think that is going to be the case going forward consistently.
Okay.
But I do think this is kind of a dangerous week for them. We heard their huddle at the end of the games last week of Jimmy giving everybody the like, don't get discouraged, don't yell at each other, kind of hype, speech that he gives. Now he's good at that. There is maybe not a better vibes captain in OKC. If they go 1-1 this week, another 0-2, you start getting nervous about them.
Okay, okay. Now you've talked before about Yellow doing the like college style, like huck it deep, oops, and they did have Garrett this week, so I think that did like rein
Oh
it in.
my goodness, yeah.
But are we seeing the same thing from White, or is it a different kind of like deep ball issue?
Yeah, no, I am not at all seeing like people loving throwing it deep. The only person on this team that I would say has a reputation for that style of play is Caleb, and I have to shout him out here. His looks have all been correct. He had a couple of hammers that have just been dots. He had a scuba to Eric. That wasn't like a hard pass, but that's the sort of swilly thing, to put in quotes, that people could call out. But these were all good decisions.
Yeah, I was impressed with some of the hammers that I saw.
Yeah, so just small execution errors.
Okay.
We get into more shout outs. I talked about Caleb. I thought having a really good week. I got to shout out Langford. I did hand block him. That's our shout out, but we're here. But he later got me back. I got open on a deep shot, and he came from across the field to get a D that I didn't see him coming for until the very end. It was a really, really hard working play.
Let's go. So not only are people on White going deep, but they're also D'ing up.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up you have Red. So us.
I do. And again, I think that we had probably the smallest argument, but another argument for first. Like I said, we went 3-1 the last 2 weeks. White and yellow can't say that. But man, so week 1, we lose to White by 10. Every win or loss after that seems like it has come in the most ridiculous of ways. Black was uni. We had that crazy comeback against Green last week. White this week we beat in uni on a very, very contested up-down call that got sent back. I thought on the field that the pass to Logan was down.
You were super vocal about it. I'm glad Logan stood his ground, because if you watch the footage,
it's close.
It's a true, I have no idea. I think a call is the only right call, and I think a contest is the only right answer.
Yeah. Is worth noting that Kay, our one neutral party, did say that she thought it was up there.
That's true. She was talking in my ear, but she was rooting for her.
But yeah, just man, we cannot have an easy game, it seems. The same with yellow. The end of that game, we are tied. You come inches away from getting the D on a run through against Janet. Janet, yeah. You immediately get smacked in the face on a basket.
Trying to get a mark.
Yeah, we are like that close to being 5-1. We're also very close to being 2-4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, living on the edge.
I just don't think that so far we have a vote or a chance at being, or whatever it is, like stake as like an argument as the first place team.
Yeah.
I think that, like you said at the beginning, we're a team that's going to grow together. I think maybe by finals that is the case. And I think so far, I know that you don't base power rankings on past record as much as I would, but a negative point diff team cannot yet be a first ranked.
It would have been so funny if we got to be 5-1 with a negative 4-point diff. That would have been the wildest thing. But no, I think you have a good point. On the subject of growing, I've got to talk about Parr here. This was far and away his most consistent week.
Parr looked good this week.
Hands were locked down, got rid of those clap catches. Wink. I realized that nobody could see me wink when I said that. Defense looked good. He had a throwaway that he like tried to apologize to me afterwards. I'm pretty sure because he didn't want me to make fun of him for it here. But like I told him, it was like stall four, and the only look he had upfield was you, who was being double covered by Poach off normal.
Who did get the D?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, yeah, maybe he could have. I don't know, not thrown into that, but we were pretty tired.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Sub if you're tired.
yeah, yeah. I've also, man, got to shout out Will. Will is, I don't think, ever been talked about as a premier OKC deep threat. Outside of torching Barnstorm deep at Two Finger. um, but this weekend, or this last week, he roofed both Eric and Garrett to a lesser extent. That one he was a little bit more open. Just crazy work in the deep space. Will, massively good job there.
All right, taking notes from Kason.
Who, of course, continued roofing everybody he was matched up on, except for a random, just no contest drop he had that I was very mad about. Come on, man. The only time I look good is when I get to throw stuff to you. You got to finish that off.
If we're talking about bad throws, I also had maybe the most egregious, like stall 1.5, stall 2, hammer to ZJ.
I mean, yeah, hammers to ZJ. I don't know.
If you're Caleb, don't throw them.
Yeah.
Or if you're not Caleb, don't throw
them. But if we're going to talk about moments from you, I don't know whether to call this a highlight or a low light. You're going to hate it.
Oh.
I catch the disc in our game against Yellow, and I look up, and I see you pretty open. And I'm going to throw it to you. I'm in the process of throwing it to you. And I guess you had been looked off in the past because I hear you scream, "Fucking throw it to me!" as I am letting it go.
Oh, okay. If you're gonna tell the story, tell it right. So I'm striking. This is my second or third consecutive strike to get the disc, and there's good coverage. There's good defense. I don't remember who the defender was, but I know that I was scared of them. And so as I'm striking, I was like, oh, there's gonna be a pause here. So I didn't say fucking throw to me. I said throw the fucking disc. Because I didn't want that window to close.
Anyway, it was regardless hilarious moment for me, but good job catching it. Can you imagine?
Yeah, especially if it was a clap catch.
My goodness. No, I really just want to talk about and shout out both of our ladies this week. You had you and Ashley this week in general. Week one, our captains said, "Hey, we're really." Jillian really did good work against us in that game against White. I mean, everybody was torching us across the board in that game against White. We got shredded. But our captains were like, "Hey, let's try and help out our ladies to be ready to poach off if we need to," and we did not need to. You guys heard that and said, like, yeah, like the hell we need men's help here. Jillian is not an easy matchup at all. She is very good, and you contained her.
Hey, well, thanks. Must have been a night all.
Yeah.
Do we have any other highlights or lowlights for Red?
I think that's all I've got. Logan, it's great having you here finally. Before this, he had played a total of 10 minutes over 2 weeks.
All right, next up you have Blue.
I do, making their way slowly but steadily up the rankings. Yeah, Blue 2-0 week this week looked really, really good. And I think what's important, they looked repeatedly good. They weren't making crazy plays, right? This was not Junior with an eye patch skying people 7 times, right? That'd be cool. Probably wouldn't be repeatable.
Right.
They were just taking what was open. They looked good. They also did have individual good plays. Gabe at the end of their game against White had a great D that he had to kind of lunge to knock away from a throw to Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
That was a tight game. That ended up, what do you have here? They won by 2 there. Yeah. That was a tight game. That was a huge game saving play.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff had one similarly from the middle of the field, jumping up to knock away a huck.
Yeah.
When the game was really tight.
Which really did matter because earlier in the game, he tripped over his own feet.
Yeah, just fell. No one was around. He ran after a disc, tripped, fell down, disc hit the ground. He picked it up like he had caught it, but then he immediately handed it off. So I don't know if he was just confused after hitting the ground or what. But he did get it back there for him.
Yeah. And then how are some of our like staple handles looking in that game?
Oh man. Summers has just been so on point for this whole league. He is really playing well. I mentioned how good Blue has looked on their deep shots last week. That continues this week. So much of that is Summers. His throws have just been dots. His cuts have also just been dots,
Hmm.
or really good, whatever the cutting equivalent of a dot is.
Hmm.
He also had a really good defensive play against White on Eric, where he stopped a dump and then was able to stick with him on the strike. And batted it like 3 times. Still didn't catch it, but
Still didn't
easy
catch it,
game.
but he made sure that it wasn't in anyone's hands.
I think he got the bookies on that point
He
too.
did, yeah.
Um, Jason has been doing Jason things. He had a throw to Chase, a deep shot. That was, I think, maybe the best throw of their game. I'm talking like I saw this. This came from someone on Blue. Very, very impressed. Probably it was Jason. That'd be fun. No, he didn't give me his own shout out.
Okay.
And then last but not least, I have to rave about Justin for a little bit here.
Okay.
Justin, week 1, I said I don't think he looks like he wants it. He looks like he's mailing it in a little bit. Maybe that's just what he's going to be in this league. But Blue needs more from him if they're going to win. He put in more. We had people on the sideline. I think you heard too, saying like, "Man, Justin really looks like he came to play."
Yeah.
He looked like he wanted to win this one. And more importantly than that, sometimes I mean, you've seen this when somebody really wants to just get mad and win a game, they make it worse. They clog, they force throws, they look people off so they don't trust them,
Mm-hmm.
they don't sub off.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do any of that. He did the opposite of all those things. He made the team around him a lot better.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. Speaking of people who make Blue a lot better, have you heard Blanche singing the Blues
Yeah.
Clues song to his team?
So Blues Clues over here. Yeah, I've heard that Blanche is singing songs from Blues Clues before every game. I don't know if you did that before this week. I would love to see a graph on games he is sang and games they have won. Just looking at their record, it's got to be pretty close. Um,
Any lowlights for Blue?
I mean, we talked about Jeff falling into
That's
for
true, that's
nobody.
true.
I think that was the only one that I could think of. Junior wasn't here to put on an eye patch and give me hilarious reactions this week. Um,
Shout out Junior. All right, so next up you have Green.
oh yeah, this was so crazy for me. So when I was thinking about how I was going to rank these teams halfway through games last week, I thought, okay, well, White goes 0-2. We lose to Yellow, so we probably aren't good enough to jump them. Green plays Blue and Black, the two bottom teams. They win both. They were in second. Easy peasy. I expected they would do that pretty easily. They've had numbers problems this whole league. They have, I think, their entire team back, right,
Mm-hmm.
including some big names like Battles and Cam Lewis.
The only person who's out is Kyle Campbell with an injury.
Yeah, there might be someone else on this team who wasn't there. I wasn't kicking people off
Okay.
on the sideline. But yeah, so I was surprised to see them lose. I think their offense looked fine.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see anything tremendously bad. I think their defense just looked really poachy. I mentioned that Blue did a great job just playing in a take what the defense gives you like mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Black, we'll talk about when we get to them, did the same thing against Green. I think Green, at least last week, was susceptible to that.
Okay. Well, so you say that, but like they do have players who are good poach D defenders, like Battles, sometimes GIF, Jeff in the deep space, right? And even with Cam Lewis there. So why wasn't that
Yeah.
working for them if that's kind of their style of play?
I mean, maybe it was just a 1 week thing, right? Jeff obviously is very good at defending the deep space. Green is, even when they're losing, the hardest team to throw deep on. Sam loves playing this sort of poachy beta throw and then run through and get it, and he just hasn't gotten any of them.
Okay.
I suspect that, like I said, I still think Green is very good. You've heard me talk about Jeff
Mhm.
every week now. Cam Lewis is somebody else that I rave about. I'm excited to see him back. Speaking of which, getting into our highlights, the first point of the first game that Cam Lewis played, he had a layout score to save a deflection.
Wow.
Very excited to see him back.
Yeah, love to see that. Way to make a splash in your first game back.
Battles also, speaking of new players for this team who are laying out, had a really great one in the middle of the field.
Nice. Okay.
And then Sunil had kind of from the handle space and every other point to run the disc up the field and then catch a score in the back of the end zone. That was dope.
Man, I love seeing lefties succeed. Sunil also had like a really good snag outside the end zone and then a step out backhand for the score.
Oh
So he
yeah,
only
that
had to
like
sit.
it probably would have been a travel if he wasn't a lefty.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
he also did have just a wide open drop in the middle of the field. Can't let him get away with too much here.
Stop cloud catching.
I also have in my notes that GIF had a hand block. I don't remember that, but I must have seen it when I was watching footage. Sorry about that, and great job, or I think it should have been a foul, depending, I guess.
And then Battles had a really good deep shot to Gavin.
Oh, yeah, that was a great throw. EJ actually complained to me about this. He really wanted that D, and he thinks that if it was any floatier at all, he would have been able to have a play, but it was just a laser that was not too far. Gavin was also able to make a good play on it.
Okay. And then the other Ryan on the team, baby ZJ, had his third consecutive like weekly two-handed block
You move over
to
to
back the
black?
score. Oh shoot! Yes, I did. Well, let's move on into black. I don't think you had anything else.
Yeah, Ryan, nice job with your third consecutive double-handed block.
So impressive. I like you don't have to keep doing it, but we're just gonna keep counting it and be excited for you every time it happens.
Kelly clearly wants to talk about it.
I really do. It's just how do you get three of those? Oh, four of them actually. You had two in 1 week.
No, so I'm sure that black is going to be annoyed that I have them below green after they just beat green. This is the third week in a row that I've had green over somebody that beat them, I think. So maybe that's just what we're having.
Yeah, the curse of green. However, I don't think that you can win exactly one game so far and be any higher.
Yeah, I think that black looked good. Like I also said with blue and mentioned with green, black looked like they won a game in a way that they could repeat. They looked smart. They looked like they were making great plays. Abby has gotten so good at making deep plays 10 yards in front of her person. Just knowing exactly when she can get to the disc.
And 10 yards in front of not her person. She's peeled off at one point.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So yeah, I think that they definitely have the ability to win more games and crawl up. I just kind of have to see it because I don't think there are bad teams in this league.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think that they played really scrappy defense, and not that they didn't have that before, but I think it's easier to play scrappy defense when you were succeeding on offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So notably the foot block that Steven had on Camp
My
White.
goodness. I am so glad you brought this up. So, yes, there was a series of just the saltiest plays I have ever seen that all started, I think, with Steven getting a foot block on Cam White. There may or may not have been a supercell call from the sideline. That certainly sounded like it came from a lightning rod looking person, but that would just be a guess. After the foot block, which he stomped the crap out of, Coco called for a new disc and threw it away, and Green was very mad that they were swapping out a disc that did not have a hole in it.
Oh no.
A little while later, Cam calls a travel on Donnie, who was very, very mad about this. And it was a very kind of ticky-tack call that you only call when you're frustrated. And it was a travel. It was absolutely a travel. It was the right call, or at least a call that he can make. I'm sorry about that, Donnie. He was mad and ended up getting stalled afterwards. Immediately after that, the next time that I don't remember if Black scored or got D'd in the end zone, Nathan calls a violation on Cam for taking the disc, I think, too far past the front of the end zone. EJ calls a foul on Cam deep.
It wasn't a foul. Watch the footage.
It looked clean in the footage, bro.
Position.
And then Cam later called a foul. We mentioned at the very beginning talking about wall crashes. Jacob had just the coolest looking catch I've ever seen. That Cam called him OB on for hitting the wall first. If he did hit the wall first, that is technically OB. I think the teams just overruled him and they moved on, I think is what happened.
Rule of cool?
I don't know. It was just a collection of hilariously salty moments, which of course I live for.
Fair enough. We also had some hilarious moments that weren't salty. So you talked about Cam Lewis having layouts. What about his low light layout?
Yeah, so Cameron Lewis, I'll just call him Cameron to make it easier, lays out for a pass going to Jacob that he does not get, but he's still on the ground. And Jacob like steps one leg over him and while straddling him throws the pass. Very reminiscent of the Allen Iverson shot in like the 2001 NBA Finals, which you don't know about. Remind me to show you. It's a really cool play.
Sure.
But just incredibly disrespectful and absolutely hilarious.
Oh man. And speaking of absolutely hilarious, I know that you talked about Junior having a very notable like surprise, shock, disappointed, like hands go up, looking at the hands on the head. Steven might outplay Junior when it comes.
Yeah, last week we joked about Steven doing the junior. No, that's just Steven. Like,
Yeah.
when Steven misses a throw, he's mad about it.
Yeah, I think the big difference between like Steven doing this and Junior doing this is that Junior always looks surprised, and after the fourth time, it's like, how can you be surprised? But Steven always looks angry, and like you can't really laugh when somebody is that scary looking.
I'm just glad that I finally figured out how to get you to trash talk someone on this podcast. Just be someone who wasn't actually there. That
No.
calling out Junior, but no, that was yeah. I agree with every part of that, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, excited to see what Black does now that they have my favorite player Coco back. Jimmy, I am his biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we played them this week, so
that'll be great. You
Yeah.
can drool over him while you match up. Okay, yeah. So we have your final rankings for this week: yellow, white, red, blue, green, and black.
Yeah.
And a special thank you to our floaters, Britt and Tiffany. We keep shouting out the floaters, but it really is important because it's like you have to be flexible. Sometimes you don't find out till right before the games that you're playing, and it fills in and it does keep the games going smoothly. So really appreciate that.
Yeah, keep signing up for that. Obviously, we don't know how many people will need. Sometimes it's none, and sometimes it's been like 6. So if you're free, keep filling that out. We want you.
Mm-hmm. And then some other like non-OKC Ultimate but still Frisbee news. Stacey Gaskill, a former WUL Pro Team player for Utah Wild. And if that sounds familiar, that's because that's the team that Justine Cherwink from Tulsa played on. So Stacey Gaskill, Pro Ultimate player, is competing in women's snowboarding in the Olympics this year for the second time. So she's competed once before in the Olympics, and this time is notable because she tore her ACL and got it like reconstructed, and is just right back at it. So if you get the chance, watch women's snowboarding, cheer for Stacey Gaskill. She's gonna shock you.
Ultimate players really need to stop tearing their ACLs.
Really.
Fun fact, little tidbit: this is not the first U.S. Olympic athlete who has been connected to Ultimate. There was somebody else who was who talked a lot about being a huge part of their hobbies. So if you know that, we'll call this trivia.
Is that Winter Olympics, Summer Olympics?
Yes, Winter Olympics. Yeah, not the first Winter Olympic Ultimate player.
Okay, thanks for narrowing it down for us.
And then, yeah, speaking of women in Ultimate, I get to talk about it this time. Women's Hat Tourney, February 21st. This is like basically free. I think it's, what is it, like $15? It's super inexpensive, and it's this awesome opportunity for the women Frisbee players that, you know, to play true women's Ultimate, which there's not that many opportunities for. Recruit them for this. That's going to be a blast.
Yeah, 6 to 10, the same place, February 21st.
Yeah.
Send your women.
I think that's all we've got.
That's it.
All right. Enjoy the games this week. See you next time.
See you out there.